Welcome to Honeybee, real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Kobe. Grief has a strange way of peeling back the layers of people's character. For 16 years of marriage, I thought I understood my in-laws, but it wasn't until my wife passed away that I truly saw who they were. What unfolded during the reading of her will show me how some people see loss as nothing more than a chance for personal gain, and how family bonds can crumble when money is involved. Vivian, my wife, and I had shared 16 beautiful years together before her lifelong battle with an autoimmune disease finally claimed her life. She was just 44, far too young, with so much still ahead of her. We had known from the start of our relationship that this day would eventually come, but knowing doesn't soften the pain when it finally arrives. From the moment we began dating, Vivian had been upfront about her health. She told me she had been diagnosed at 8 years old with severe autoimmune disorder, one that affected multiple organs and required constant monitoring and treatment. When we chose to marry, we did so with a clear understanding that her illness would be a permanent part of our journey together. For years, we searched for treatments, visited top specialists across the country, and tried everything possible to improve her quality of life. While we couldn't cure her, we managed to buy her more time we filled with meaning and love. The costs, however, were enormous. Insurance covered the basics, but the more promising therapies were considered experimental, forcing us to shoulder heavy expenses out of pocket. We also made the heartbreaking decision not to have children, not because we didn't want them, but because doctors warned that pregnancy could worsen her condition drastically and possibly shorten her life. It was a painful sacrifice, but one made for her health and our future together. Instead, we poured our energy into building a full life in other ways. We traveled when our health allowed, immersing ourselves in art and history, and made our home a sanctuary filled with memories. Vivian built a thriving freelance career in graphic design, collaborating with major brands while keeping her schedule flexible around her medical needs. Despite everything, our marriage was filled with genuine happiness. Vivian was resilient, refusing to let her illness define her. She faced each day with determination, and her positivity left an impact on everyone she met. But her relationship with her parents was far more complicated. Patricia and Kenneth had 2 sons in addition to Vivian, and from my perspective, they clearly favored their boys. With Vivian, they behaved more like caretakers of an obligation than loving parents. At family gatherings, their preference was obvious. They treated her illness as an inconvenience rather than a life-threatening struggle. After our wedding, their interest dwindled further. They rarely asked about her treatments and seemed to consider her care entirely my responsibility. Still, Vivian tried. She remembered birthdays, anniversaries, and invited them to holidays, even when her concern for her was minimal. As her health declined, they distanced themselves even more, avoiding the reality of her suffering instead of offering comfort. The final 2 years were the hardest. Her condition worsened, requiring frequent hospitalizations and exhausting treatments. I became her full-time caregiver, managing every detail of her medical care. During those difficult months, Vivian and I had long talks about practical matters, her estate, her wishes, her will. She was crystal clear. She wanted me to be financially secure after her passing, recognizing the career sacrifices I had made for her. Vivian had built a considerable estate. Her design work for major companies often paid in stock rather than cash, and together we had made smart investments. Years earlier, she had also inherited money from her grandmother, which we had grown significantly. When Vivian passed away, even knowing it was inevitable, the loss shattered me. 16 years with someone doesn't prepare you for the silence left behind. Grief consumed me, and even simple daily routines felt unbearable without her. Her funeral was exactly as she wanted, a simple service celebrating her life. Her parents and brothers attended, though their demeanor was cold and formal, not deeply grieving. 2 months later, her attorney called me in for the will reading. Though I already knew Vivian's general wishes, this would make it official. I expected a straightforward meeting. Present were her parents and 2 brothers. The atmosphere was tense, but I chalked it up to the seriousness of the occasion. The lawyer began with the standard legal language, then moved to the details. As Vivian had wished, The majority of her estate was left to me, our home, her business assets, investments, and personal belongings. I noticed her parents' expressions shift from polite interest to visible anger as the reality set in. Once the main provisions were read, Patricia burst out, insisting that Vivian's wealth belonged to her brothers. Kenneth backed her up, claiming family money should stay in the bloodline. Their entitlement was staggering, especially given how little they had been present in Vivian's final years. The attorney, calm but firm, reminded them the will was valid and reflected Vivian's clear instructions. Then he opened a second envelope. In it were modest bequests for her parents and brothers, small amounts of money, and personal keepsakes. Enough to show she had remembered them, but nowhere near what they expected. Instead of gratitude, they reacted with outrage, claiming I had manipulated Vivian during her illness. Their accusations cut deep. I had given up my own career to stand by her side for 16 years. To suggest I had exploited her was beyond insulting to me and to her memory. The lawyer explained again that the will was airtight, properly executed, and without signs of coercion. But her parents stormed out, vowing to fight in court. Sure enough, within weeks, I was served with papers. They were suing to overturn the will, accusing me of undue influence. On top of grief, I now face a nightmare defending my marriage and Vivian's wishes in court. I hired one of the city's top estate litigation attorneys. He assured me their case was weak. They had no proof of manipulation, and there was extensive documentation of Vivian's mental clarity throughout the process. The battle dragged on for months. Depositions, endless filings, and emotional strain. But as evidence unfolded, their neglect of Vivian became undeniable. Under oath, it was clear they had played little role in her care or life in her final years. Witnesses confirmed Vivian's sound mind and independence in making her decisions. Eventually, the judge ruled firmly in my favor. The will stood. Vivian's wishes were honored. But the outcome went further. The court deemed their lawsuit frivolous and ordered them to pay my legal fees. When they learned how high those fees were, thanks to the high-profile attorney I had retained, they were stunned. In trying to claim Vivian's estate, they ended up losing more than she had left them in the first place. It was justice in more ways than one. Not only was our relationship and her memory vindicated, but their greed was exposed for what it was. This ordeal taught me painful but powerful lessons. Grief reveals true priorities. Vivian's parents had cared less for her life than for what they thought they could gain after her death. Vivian had known this, which is why her estate plan reflected loyalty to the one who had truly stood by her. The legal fight, though draining, gave me unexpected closure. Defending her wishes forced me to reflect on everything we had shared, and it reaffirmed the depth of our bond. In the end, her estate went to the person who loved her, not those who saw her as a paycheck. Love and loyalty triumphed. Greed and entitlement collapsed. Vivian's legacy is one of courage, grace, and strength. Her final decisions were as wise and resilient as she was in life. Those who truly loved her continue to honor her memory. Those who merely shared her blood revealed their true selves and lost everything in the process.